In November 1956, an event took place that changed the world forever. The most powerful empire in history, one that ruled a quarter of the globe and controlled world trade for a century, was brought to its knees in just 11 days. It wasn't because of a revolution or a lost war. It was because of a single phone call. On that call, the United States gave Britain an ultimatum. Pull your military out of Egypt immediately, or we will destroy your currency. We will sell every British pound we own, and we will block your emergency loans. Britain had no choice. The empire surrendered, not to an army, but to its own debt. This was the Suez Crisis, the final blow to British global power. But here's the part they don't teach you in school. Britain didn't fall because of that one crisis. It fell because for decades, it had been making the exact same mistakes that America is making right now. And by 2026, those mistakes are finally going to catch up with us. To understand how Britain fell, you have to understand how it rose. In the 19th century, the British pound was the currency. Every trade was done in pounds, and every central bank held pounds. This gave Britain an incredible power. They could print money to fund their military and borrow at very low rates because the world trusted them. Does that sound familiar? It should. But by the late 1800s, the U.S. was already becoming an economic powerhouse, outproducing British factories. Yet the world kept using the pound simply out of habit. Economists call this inertia. Even as Britain's foundation weakened, the pound stayed strong because people were used to it. Then came World War I. Britain borrowed massive amounts of money to win. By 1918, they had gone from being the world's biggest lender to one of its biggest debtors. But instead of accepting this new reality, Britain made a huge mistake in 1925. They returned to the gold standard, an exchange rate that was far too high for their weakened economy. It was pure ego. To keep the pound's value artificially high, they had to keep interest rates painfully high, which crushed their own growth. Meanwhile, British leaders kept spending as if they still ruled the world, maintaining military bases they could no longer afford. During the Great Depression in the 1930s, the world realized the math didn't add up. Britain was spending more than it earned. In 1931, they were forced off the gold standard and the pound lost 30% of its value overnight. Still, they survived by forcing their colonies, like India and Pakistan, to hold their reserves in pounds. America is doing something very similar today with the petrodollar system, forcing the world to use dollars for oil. But today, the BRICS nations and even some of our allies are starting to look for alternatives. By the end of World War II, Britain's debt was 200% of its GDP. They were bankrupt, living only on American loans and patience. When Egypt took control of the Suez Canal in 1956, Britain tried to prove they were still a superpower by invading. But they forgot one thing. They weren't the world's banker anymore. President Eisenhower used financial pressure to stop them. In 11 days, the illusion of the British Empire was over. Now look at America today. Our debt-to-GDP ratio is hitting 120% and rising. We are borrowing $7 billion every single day just to keep the lights on. We spend more on our military than the next 9 countries combined, maintaining 750 bases in 80 countries. We are policing the world on a credit card, just like Britain did. Empire collapses happen gradually, then suddenly. The warning signs for America are everywhere. Record debt, declining industry, and military overreach. In 2026, the numbers become critical. The Congressional Budget Office, CBO, projects that our interest payments on the national debt will hit $1 trillion a year. We will soon spend more on interest than we do on our entire defense budget. We're like a family that can only afford to pay the minimum balance on their credit cards. Our Suez Moment could be anything. A failed military move, a debt ceiling crisis, or the world simply deciding that U.S. Treasury bonds aren't safe anymore. Britain's final mistake was believing that their reputation was enough to ignore reality. They thought the rules of economics didn't apply to them because of their history. America believes the same thing today. But history only cares about math. When a reserve currency falls, it's not just numbers on a screen. It means your savings lose value, the cost of everything you buy goes up, and the middle-class lifestyle disappears. The government won't save you. They couldn't save the British people, and they won't save us. Do you think 2026 will be our 1956? Let me know in the comments. And for more deep dives into the systems behind the headlines, subscribe to Capitology Labs. I'll see you in the next one.